So I granted permissions, recording permissions, so we can enable. And then coming to the course content, so we are in security. So yesterday we discussed about so what are the different authentications we have in SQL Server, and how to connect, how to create logins and users, and how to connect, and how to grant permissions, right, at the server level as well as database level. When it comes to the database level, we also discussed other things like how we can create our custom privileges, custom permissions to the users, uh, custom roles. And the second one is that granting access on the specific objects instead of entire database. And also we discussed about granting access on only specific columns. So these are the things we discussed as part of security topic. Okay. So again, today class is extension of yesterday class. Okay, so in today class, the remaining topics, remaining security related topics we'll discuss. Those are like creating the server level roles, and we have some predefined users. Again, what is the purpose of those users, that we will discuss. And then orphan users, when user is losing permissions or maybe missing relation with the logins, then those kind of users we can call it as orphan users. Then how to find the orphan users and how to fix the orphan users. And we'll also discuss about security auditing. So these are the topics we'll discuss in today topic. Okay, let's get started with a default user. Like when you create a database, when you create a database is created with if you can see any database. When you create a database has some predefined users. So here we can see the DBO, guest user, information schema, SYS, and this user, test user created by us yesterday. Okay. So what are the purpose of these users? So, and again, another important point is that, so these three users, guest user, information schema, sys. So these three users by default in disable mode, right? So informations and schema. So these accounts we should not drop. We should not remove from the database. It's contain the internal database related security information. We should not delete these users. Okay. And again, another important point is that we should not enable the guest account. So what will happen if you enable the guest account? That we'll see that. So as for yesterday class, if you want to access a database, first we need to create a login. We need to create a user on the which database you want to access. Then only you can access the database. So that's we discussed in yesterday class. For example, so we created test login one as permissions on DBA. So this login can only access the DBA database. So this is the test login session. Maybe if you forget, if you want to connect with the newly created account, so here we have to specify the server name and authentication. So test login is SQL authenticated user. We have to select the SQL authentication and enter the password. Okay, so once connect to the we connect to the server using this test login one, and test login one access or maybe relation with the DBA database. So we can enter into the DBA database, but test login account not exist in the sample database. If you're trying to enter into the sample database, we cannot enter because we didn't have log a user for sample database. Okay. Again, so if you want to access the sample database, what we need to do that we need to create a user in sample database, and we need to give a relation to the login. Okay. So, but if you enable the guest account, if you enable the guest account without creating any user, whoever connect to the server, everyone, so all the members can connect to the database. Now we'll see that. So I want to enable guest account on sample database. So now we enable the guest account, right? So, and we connected SQL Server 2016 using test login one account. So previously, before enabling guest account and sample database, when expand the sample database, it will mean it thrown an error. Now refresh the databases. Now we can enter into the database, right? So that's mean whatever permissions the test login has in the server level, based on the access rights, it can do the operations on the sample database. So that is the reason. So if you enable the guest account on any database, whoever connect to the server, they can also connect to the database. So that is the reason for security perspectives, we should not enable at all the guest account. It should be always in disabled state. Okay. So that's about the guest account. Again, we don't use this guest account in real-time environment, but we have to understand the concept of the guest account. If we enable on any database, whoever connect to the server, everyone, I mean, whoever connect to the server, they can also connect to the database. Okay, the particular database. So we done the same, we did the same, and after enabling the guest account on sample database, we are able to enter into the sample database. But we did not enable guest account on testdb2 or other databases, and we did not have user for login one, and we did not enable guest account on in the testdb2 database, so we cannot enter into the database. Okay, so that is about the guest account. The second account is DBO, but by default DBO account is in enable state. We log into the any database, here we can see that DBO is by default in enable state. Okay, so again back to the yesterday class. In yesterday class, what we discussed. So again, so if you want to access any database, we need to create a login and we need to create a user. The user, I mean, we need to establish the relation between user and login. So that we discussed, right? So here I connected my admin account. Okay, I connected the server. Here we can see that this is the Malesh admin. I connected this server using admin account. Okay, when I connect to the server using this account, I can access all the databases. There is no restrictions, nothing. I can access all the databases. I can do all the permissions. But as per yesterday class, again, if you want to access the database, we must require the user. But I enter into the testdb database, but there is no admin account user in this database. But we are accessing all the database in the server. The reason is that the background reason is that whatever accounts has sysadmin privileges, whatever account, whatever accounts in the server have sysadmin privileges, those accounts will connect to all the database without having any user reference. Okay, so this account has sysadmin privileges. If you go to the security tab and if you go to admin account, here we can see server role sysadmin, right? So when account has sysadmin permissions, without having any specific user, we can enter into all the database. So the reason is that, so that means whatever account has sysadmin privileges, that will use the DBO user, that will directly as the relation with the DBO user. Whatever accounts have sysadmin privileges, no need to create a separate user in the database, because there is a default user DBO. The DBO user will automatically map into the particular account which has sysadmin privileges. Okay, so that is the reason we don't have user for this database, this server, but we can access all the databases. So these are the two users you must know about, like guest and DPO. And we don't use these things, information schema and sys. These are only for internal purpose. But one important point is that we should not delete these two accounts. Okay, clear? So that's about the default users. And it comes to we already discussed about role, public role. Public is the generic role or default role for server level as well as database level. It has minimal privileges to enter into the server or database. That's it. That's about the public role. Okay. Now we are clear about like a default role and then a default users. Now moving to the next topic. The next topic is that how to remove the privileges, or maybe how to disable the login, or maybe how to remove the login. So if you want to disable privileges in the server level, we can go to server level and we can uncheck. I think we created test login. So if you want to grant, if you want to remove, you can uncheck and then click OK. If you want assign. If you want to remove any privileges, you can uncheck. Okay. The same way database level. Here, once you double click on the login, in the left side we can see the third tab, user mapping. Again, we can see that we can remove the privileges or adding privileges here. If you want to add, you can add it here. If you want to remove, you can remove it here. Okay. So this way we can remove the privileges to the particular account. Okay. And if you don't want to delete, if you want to disable the access, we have an option to, like, you can go to the properties. In the properties we can see status. In the status we can see disable. That means if it is a disable, we cannot enter into the server. If account is in disabled state, we can see the cross red symbol. So we can easily identify which accounts are in disabled state or which are in enabled state. Again, if you want to enable, go to properties, go to status, and there we can enable. And then so we can enter, so here grant and deny. So we can enter into the server, but we cannot do anything. We can deny the permission to connect to the database again. Again, if we deny this one, so we cannot enter into the server. If you want to disable or deny the access, we can use these options. Okay. And the next important point is that so we discussed about security policies, like using the certain character, password expire on certain after certain days, and maybe if you enter the password, if you enter the wrong password more than 5 times or six times, the account will automatically log out. Again, so based on the AD level security policies, the in SQL accounts or Windows account both will depend on that security policies. So if account is locked for any reason, again here we can see that login is locked out. Okay, here this will be enabled. Now it is in gray state, but if your account is locked out, then we can see the enable state, and here we can see the tick mark. If you again unlock, we can uncheck, or maybe we can use the different option that will cover it in the later classes. Even one option is that uncheck this option if it is enabled and click OK. Okay, so that's about the granting or disabling the account or denying the access to connect to the server, or maybe how we can verify the account is locked out or not. That will do that. Okay, and another thing is that, let me enable this account. Okay. Sometimes maybe when user, so the logins information are in the master database in sys.sys login table, but we cannot, the password cannot be readable, and we don't have any third party tool, we don't have any internal mechanism which we can use to get the password information. If somebody forget the password, we have only one option to reset the password. Okay, if you want to reset the password, so first we have to get the approval. Without having proper approval, we cannot do that. So ensure that getting having proper approval. When it comes to the password change, right click on the, double click on the login, and then go to the general. You can remove this information and add the new password. 12345 12345, sorry, 6 12345. Okay, and click OK. Password valid, password does not fit Windows policy. See that? So we enable the option, right, and force password policy. That's mean, so what this option will control, we have to use the complexity, password complexity, and a certain length, a certain character, we have to use it. Here we can see that password validation failed. The password does not meet the Windows policy requirement because it is too short. Okay. If you uncheck this one, now it won't verify the password policy. It will allow us to create a change the password. Okay. Changing the password is very simple. Remove this existing information, enter the new password. Okay, that's it. Okay, now we are clear about creating account. And when it comes to the removing, if you want to remove the account, delete. And if you want to rename the account, for example, this account as test1, I'm changing to test2. That's it. We can simply change the login name. And if you want to remove, delete, drop login name. That is the command. Okay. So that's all for login creation, deletion, and restricting access to connect to the server or disabling. Okay, changing the password. I hope you understand clearly. So if you understand clearly, then our next topic is customizing the server roles. Again, pointing to the yesterday class. In yesterday class, we discussed about customizing the database role. We have database wise, we have a 9 roles. If we want, we can custom our we can create our custom roles, and we created one custom role. Okay, so this option is available in all the versions and all the editions. So we also have server level customizer role option, but this feature is only available from SQL Server 2012 and above versions. So before that, we don't have an option to custom or creating our own uh, server level roles. Again, so point on the yesterday class. In yesterday class, we discussed about 8 server level roles. Okay, so if you want, we can also create our custom server roles. For example, yesterday we discussed about one of the role, DB creator role. DB creator role means when you grant a DB creator, when assign DB create role to any login, he can create database, he can drop database, he can alter database, he can also do the restore databases, right? But sometimes customer is asking, I need only data creation permission. I don't need delete and then update permissions. In that case, if requirement is related to that, so we can create our custom roles and we can only grant privileges to create a database. This is only available from SQL Server 2012 and above. Before that, we don't have option. If you are using SQL Server 2008, if a customer is asking us to, I need only permission to create a database. I don't need delete and update. So we cannot do that. We cannot do the kind of privileges before 2012. From 2012 onwards, we can create our own custom server level roles. Okay, if you want to do that, go to the security, expand the security tab, and then go to SQL Server. Sorry, not server roles. Here we can see that the predefined roles. Those are 8. If you want to create your own role, right click on it, new server role, and then specify the server role, DB only, DB only creation. Okay. And once specify the role name, and then go to the server and select the server name. Once you select the server name, uh, here in the bottom we can see the different privileges. Alter any connections, alter any database, alter any endpoint, any login. So these are all specific privileges. Okay, connect to the server, create any database. So I'm granting create only, create any database. we created the create any database privilege to this role and click OK. Now here we can see the DB only creation. Now go to login. Again, double click on test login one. Go to server roles. Now I'm creating only DB only creation role. This is our custom role. Click OK. Now the test login one can only create databases. Select the SQL authentication test login one. Password is 12345. Okay. Now we can create a database. So new database name is DBA 2 and click OK. So able to create DB2 database. And but in real time, what we need to do that when to create the database, we have to use the like proper or dedicated one. Most of the organization they are using the SA account. SA account is a inbuilt account. That's mean it will create it along with the SQL Server installation. Change to the SA account. Okay, so we created the DB2, but now we cannot drop the database. So we connected. If you're trying to delete, you can delete the database. Maybe if you're using the command drop database name DBA. Cannot drop database DB2 because it does not exist or you don't have permission. Okay, that means so this way we can create our own custom roles based on the user requirement. So this option is only available from SQL Server 2012 and above versions. Okay, so we can also look into the whatever other privileges we have when you're practicing. Okay, so that way we can create custom roles. If we're clear about it, the next one is that again it's a new feature that is called contain user. So using this concept, no need to create a login. Without creating a login, we can directly create a user in the specific database and we can access the database. So again, this option is available from SQL Server 2012 and above versions. But using these options, we have to enable the contained option. For enabling, we have to use the command for enabling we have to use this option. Take this command and enable on server level. Very simple, just here we have to use sp configure contain database authentication. By default 0 for the server, we have to make it enable by using one parameter. Okay. Now the contained database authentication we enabled. So just remember yesterday. So for granting access, created login in the master database and then created the user in the database. In this case, so what we are doing, we are directly creating a user on DB database without creating any login at server level. For doing this one, so we have to enable this contained authentication, database authentication. After that, go to database, on which database you want to create a user, go to properties, and then options. Containment authentication type none. We have to enable, we have to select the second option, partial, and click OK. Okay. So then after that, go to the security, users, new user. Here specify the username, contain user, and we can directly update the password here. Okay, password is abc at 123, abc at 123. Okay, and again we can also grant the privileges by clicking the membership. Okay, so here we have to select SQL with password option. This is the default option, and you enable the contained authentication. This means we created the contain user and then enter the password. We also granted the privileges DB owner and click OK. Okay, so now using this user, we can directly connect to the DBA database. For connecting, click. So it's SQL authenticated account, so we have to select the SQL authentication, and the username is contain user, password is abc at 123. But when you're using the contain user, we have to go to options. Here, network protocol, connect database. Connect database, we have to select which database you want to connect. We have to specify the database name, that is DBA. Okay. And click connect. Name is wrong. So it's a case instance to you can use any letter. Okay. So we connected the only database. Okay. So this is one of the good feature related to security, because no need to create, no need to depend on the money. So now we created the contain user, right? The contain user, everything, the contain user password, security information, everything will be in the DBA database. This is one of the good feature related to the security. Okay, so nowadays many companies prefer to use the contain user, because no need to depend on the logins procedure, no need to depend on the creating the logins and mapping the kind of stuff. You can directly create a user and create a user, and we can directly grant access to the database. So for doing this one, so but first you have to enable the contain database authentication at server level, and then the database level we have to enable, go to the specific database properties, and then we have to enable contain authentication as partial. Then it will allow us to create a user. Okay, clear? So that's about the new features related to the security. Okay, now I think we covered almost all the things. The next one is that auditing. So how to audit, like how to analyze this whatever operations are happening in the server. How we can analyze means, if you want to analyze, there are different options. We can also use the third party tools, some internal tools also we can use it. From I think from SQL Server 2012 onwards, they also added auditing. So using the auditing, we can analyze the security related or maybe database related changes. Okay, for creating security audit, and here we can see that security audit server audit specifications. So we have to create a server wise audit, new audit, specify the audit name, test audit. Okay, so then query delay in seconds. This is the default, no need to do anything. And other options are Like here we can see that maximum rollover files unlimited. So that's mean one file is completed, then it will go to the next file, and maximum file size is unlimited. So generally the recommended one is that we can maximize the files by specifying our number. Like by default these are the files will created in the specified location. So we can, like, generally people are having 7 files or 30 files. Just I want to go with 7 files. And we can also specify the file size. That's me, um, maybe 1 GB, 1 GB, 1 TB. Okay, that's mean. So sorry, that's mean once that's mean 7 files will be created in the specified location, and each file size will 1 GB. If 1 GB file completed, then it will use the next file, and we can only see the 7 files. If 8 file is created, the water file will automatically deleted. Okay, and here we have to specify the path. So where the audit information store. Let me select the. Okay, so the file, the audit file information will be storing in this location. So once created, just like the audit file name, file specifications, and then the file location, we need to specify enable audit. Okay, by default after creating it is in disable, we have to enable it. And once we create, then again, so we have server audit specifications, as well as we have database wise audit specifications. Server wise means login related security, that means login password change, login updation. So the kind of information we can audit. For creating server audit specification, new server audit specification, and here we can see the audit action type. Okay, so login. Even we don't use this audit, so maybe in many some organizations we are using, but we don't. In the current, even in my experience, I never used the audit things. Okay, so in the action type, we have to select that which kind of information you want to trace. Like here, we can see that if somebody role created, role changes, like permission changes. So we simply can change it. Permission related changes if we want to track, we can use the server wise audit. Okay, somewhere we have user change password. That means if somebody changed the password, that information will be in the audit file. Okay, specify the name and then audit location. So that's mean we already created the audit file. So that file we have to specify that. So test audit, this is located in C patching folder. So there this audit information will store. Okay, we have a different role changes and login, log out. If somebody log into the server, if somebody log off. So we have also some other groups, DBCC group, right? So like all the permission related information we can track it and click OK. And again, by default it is in disable. We have to enable it. So that's mean whenever you change the password, the information we can find in audit log. Because if somebody change the password, we can easily track it. That information will be in the test audit file. We can see the view audit logs. We can also use the commands in the bottom. We can see the information. We can also use the commands to get the same kind of information. So this wise we can track the server level security changes. When it comes to the database, so We can also create database wise specifications. For doing that, security, and then data audit specification, new database audit specification, DBA changes, and again audit file we need to select for storing the information. And here we can see the different options like execute. So using database wise changes, we can also track the what are changes happen in the database, like insert, update, delete, create, execute. We can track it. We can also trace the user level changes, like somebody change the permission of the user, maybe the kind of maybe somebody granted or removed the roles of the particular user. That information also we can trace it out. Here we have to select insert. I selected the insert, and here like entire database or only specific object. That information also we can select. Here object type. For example, you have one important table, and you want to trace the information on the particular table. You can use it. Okay, that means so whenever insert operations happen on this tab one, then we can trace it. Here principal name, we can also track the username. Test user. Okay. So insert the same way we can also use the different delete or execute. Then same we can specify that database.
So
Any
Malesh,
object.
operations done by test user only will be tracked, right?
Correct. Yeah. If you're specifying test user, so whatever changes happen by the test user, the insert operation, it will trace it.
How can we track for who all the users in the database?
Yeah. If you know, I think we know if you're not specifying the test user, we can do that. We'll test this one.
Okay.
Here I'm selecting all the tables. Browse. If you want, you can trace, check the all the tables here. We want to enable the checkbox, and let's leave it. We'll see that. Let me do by the. Okay. I think we have to specify the user, because without specifying user, we cannot create the audit. And only we can. So we must specify the principal name, username. Without specifying that, we cannot get a auto create that. Okay, if we're not specifying the username here, we'll get the disabled. So we cannot create a audit for only the specific user on specific tables. Okay. And click OK. Again, so when you create a audit in disable, we have to enable. Okay. Some changes by using the test one user. Granting DB owner. So now connect this out to test one user. ABC 8123. We connected DBA. password is. Okay, we connected with test login, and if you go to the table, delete tab to rows are affected. Now I think we have some commands. In the commands, you can let me find the command. And the default is that like even I think we can go to the audit file. If you see option, this button. So let's I think we have to use the command. Let's get because I didn't get any request to creating audits in my experience.
If not, we can check that later, maybe.
It's a simple file. We'll try in the security verification. Let's see. So this command we have to run with. Take in new query on DBA. But here we don't see that. Let me try with the I think something I have to spend some time because we inserted accounts, but insert and delete, it's not showing. We don't spend much time, so let's try with two other things. I'll spend some time on this. So maybe I have to find the right query. Instead of spending time, maybe probably I'll see it in. I'll spend some time and get the query in. So now we've seen that how to create. So now I'll see it later. Uh, yes. So even we without using the commands, you can also find. So we have to go to the main audit file. So here we can see the view audit logs, right? And so we deleted here, right? So delete operation is entered. Here we can see that which table, which user, what time he did. So everything we can find it. Like here we can see the timestamp, and we can see the login, okay, and which table he did it, what command he using, okay. So this kind of, so we can also, I mean, we can also use the commands. We can also find the graphical information, right? So this was this server audit, server related information. So like who did that, who deleted the login, who updated the password, what time updated, audit session changed, right? That's mean we no need to depend on the commands. Like, but using the commands, you can get the clear information. Even without using the commands, you can find the related information. Using which statement, like which query you use it to delete the data, right? All these kind of information. Like with somebody, sometimes maybe some unusual events happening on the database, or maybe specific tables. Maybe we'll get request to create a audit on the auditing on the particular table. So in that case, we have to create a audit on the object, for the user. And we can, if you want to read that, you can go to the main audit file, and you can click the view audit log. So there we can see all these entries. Okay. So, but in the comments, you can easily find that. I mean, we can give the report to the users in the easy way. Okay. So that's about login audit as well as user audit. Okay. So that's mean we completed all the topics for security. And then final one is that orphan users. Okay, after means the pending one is that orphan users. If orphan user completed, the entire security topic completed. Okay, now move to the new topic that is called orphan users. So what are orphan users? What time the orphan users are created, and how to find and how to fix. So these are the four important things we need to discuss. The first, orphan user in the sense the user not having, or maybe not associated with the login. So don't remove the contained user concept from the mind at this time. So because it doesn't applicable for the contained users. So that this orphan users concept only applicable for the traditional mechanism. If we create the logins in the traditional way, like creating logins and creating user and giving the relation. When you're doing this kind of operations, we will get the orphan users concept. Okay. So orphan user in the sense the user is not having relation with any login. Those users we can call it as a orphan users. Okay. So these orphan users will created in so mainly three different ways. One is that somebody deleted a login without deleting the user. The time it will behave like a orphan user. The second one is that when you migrate or when you move the database from one environment to another environment, logins will not move, only users will move to the target machine. In the target machine, those users will behave like a orphan users. That is the second. The third reason is that internally, so like we can understand by the like our own language, but SQL Server doesn't understand the human readable language. That is the reason whenever create a login, whenever create a user, every login and every user uniquely identified by the SID. SID means binary format number. Based on that. That SQL Server will understand the logins and users. So for again, so the mapping. So internally, it has mapping. It has a map with user and login. If any reason the mapping is missing, so that time also we can see the orphan users. So that's mean orphan user in the sense the user doesn't have relation with any login. Those logins, those users you can call it as a orphan users. So orphan users we can see when somebody deleted a login without deleting user, and the second one is that when you move or migrate the databases, that time logins will not move, only users will move. So in the target machine, those users will behave like a orphan users. The third one is that because of the SID, internally SID mismatching, that time also we can see the orphan users. Very important entry person. Again, this concept is very useful for migrating the databases. Okay. So now we'll see that we'll see the orphan users. How to we'll create orphan users, and do the we'll find the orphan users. Here we have a test login, and test login has access on DBA database. Take a new query, and we have one command. So when execute this command, we can find the orphan users. So I'm executing this command on DBA database. Okay, let me, because it enabled on contain user, let me return DB2 database, DBA2 database. So there is no orphan users on this database. Okay, so let me grant access to DB2. DB1. Okay, now this test login one, we granted access on DBA2 database. Now DBA2 database as user, test login user. Now I'm executing the command. There is no orphan users on DBA2 database. Now what I will do that I will remove the login. I'm not removing the user. I'm just removing the login. Logins are under security tab, and I'm removing test login one. Right click and click delete button. Now execute this command. Now we can see the test login as it's behave like a orphan user. That means now we cannot use the test login because test login is deleted, and but we have user on DBA2 database, DBA2 database. So using that means this user it's an orphan user because it doesn't have, I mean, it doesn't have relation with the login, and he cannot connect to the server, he cannot do anything on the database. So that means somebody deleted a login without deleting user. That time we can see the orphan user. The second option is that second reason for orphan users is when you migrating or moving the database from one server to another server. So that time also you can see the orphan users. Okay, for doing this demo, so let's connect to the node 1 server. A node 1 server, we have advanced work 2016 database, and let me create some logins and users for this database. So new login name, adventure work, AW user 1, user 1, server authentication 123 123, ABC at 123, ABC at 123. Okay, user mapping and directly creating, so no need to create a login separately, user separately. In yesterday class we created login separately. After creating the login, we created the user, but here we have an option at a time we can create a login and user. Okay, so once you update the login name and then selecting the authentication mode and enter the password, Here we have an option user mapping. When you click the user mapping, we can see all the list of databases. So here I want to grant access to adventure work. So here we can see that AW user one, you can also change the name. If you want to use different name, you can use a different name, or login name, username. If you want to go with the same, then you can no need to do that. So in real time environment, whatever login name has, so they prefer to use the same name for user. AW user one. You can in the bottom once select the database, you can see the DB1 or whatever permissions you want to grant, you can grant it. So using this method, at a time we created login, at a time we created user. Okay. So let me create one more user. AW user 2, SQL authentication. And user mapping, adventure work, data reader, data writer. So we created two users, and let me create one Windows authenticated account. SQL SVC. Select the domain. My domain is Malist. Check name, click OK, and user mapping. It is saying already exist. Let me create that new login. SQL SVC user mapping adventure work. There is no account, but we are getting error. This account is already been exist. Sometimes what happens if a user owner is doesn't change, if owner didn't change, so we can get this kind of error. It has user. So we have SQL SVC adventure work. Okay, maybe so it's not taking. I don't know. So what I did it log the user did not add it in the database. So what I did after that I created a user new user. That's mean using the command alter role db role member. Now here we can see that user here MySQL SVC. Okay, so that's mean so advanced work 2016 database has two SQL authenticated user and Windows. One is Windows authenticated account. Now, so the second reason for creating the orphan user server, when you migrate the database from one server to another server, that time we'll see in the target server authenticated user, I mean orphan users will create. Okay, so we know that how to copy the how to move the database using backup and digital method. So for that, we need to take a backup from the source server. Take a backup. I'm taking backup into C backup, AW 2016.BAK. Okay, backup is done. So this backup file we need to copy to node 3 server to restore. Copying that, we have to use the network drive access. Go to run command, type server name dollar, and the folder is the file is located in C backup folder. Control C and copy into the local server. Local server is node 3 server. I'm copying in node 3 server backup folder. So this is the node 3 C drive and the backup folder. In the backup folder I'm placing. We copied from node 1 server to node 3 server C drive. Okay, it's copied. Now we need to restore the file. Restore database, select the device, AW2016.BAK, and options override because it's a full backup. Restore with recovery. And if you want to change the file location, you can change it, or else if you don't want to go that, maybe if you want to go the different location, you can change it here. So this is the and click OK. So restart successfully. Now run the orphan user finding command. Take a new query. Sorry, I think we ran it on different user, different database. Advanced work. Execute. Now we can see the AW user 1, AW user 2, and MySQL SVC. So this is the second reason for creating the orphan users. Now we have to understand why these orphan users are created. Okay. So again, back to the yesterday class. So when you create a login information will be storing in the master database. Okay. When you create a user's information will be stored into the same database. Right. When you take a backup of the database, whatever information in that in the database, those information will come to the backup. Because we created 3 users, these 3 users information also will be in the database. When you take a backup, these 3 users information also come to the backup file. Right? When you restore the backup file, whatever data in the backup file, all the data will come to the restored database. So that's mean here we can see the users. But these dependent logins are exist in the master database, and we did not perform master database backup and restore. We did not take the master database backup. If you take a master database backup, if you restore in the target server, then we don't get the orphan users, because the backup restoration process, that logins will come to the target server. Because in real time environment, we should not restore the master database backup file from master database from one server to another server. We should not do that. So here the problem is that these users comes to the target server, but these users are not having any relation with the logins, because logins did not come to the target server. So now we identify the orphan users. Now the second thing is that we have to fix the orphan users, because we have a user but we cannot connect to the server. SQL Server Authentication, AW user 1, and then ABC at 123. Okay, so you cannot connect and log into LT user, because even if you have a user, the first thing we need to connect to the login. So for connect to the server, we are using the login to connect to the server, but here It has a user, this database has a user, but this user is login. If we're not having relation with the login, we cannot enter into the server. Okay. So how to fix these orphan users? Okay. So Microsoft provided one predefined command or a script that we can call it as a rev login script. Okay. So this script we need to execute on the source server. The source server is Node 1 server. Can you query? I think it's not copying. Okay, so let me connect the because I'm not able to copy the script to the server. So let me connect the again node to server here. Node 1 server, node 1 prod. So the script, rev login script, we need to execute on the source server. Sorry, source server. Source server is node 1 prod. Take a new query on the source server and execute and change to text format, result window, result message, and execute it. So once execute this command, so the rev login screen, what it will do, it will extract the all the logins information from the source server with the password as well as with the SID security identifier. Take a new notepad, copy this script into notepad, and find that which logins you want to move. Here we can see that login, create login name with password. Password is in the binary format. It cannot be readable, and it also has SID. SID means security identifier. It is in binary format. Okay. So here we need to copy these two logins. So once execute the trivial login script, it will extract the all the logins, not only the specific login. It will extract the all the logins. So here we have to copy 3 login scripts. Which logins you want to move? Those login scripts we need to select. AW user 1, AW user 2. The script we need to execute on the target server. Target server is Node 3 SQL Server 2016. And there is a one more login, that is SQL SVC. Okay, just execute now. So this command, these scripts we are executing on Node 3 server 2016. Completed. Now run the orphan users command. There is no orphan users because we login created. When logins created, the associate users will automatically fix it because internally in the background it will verify the SIDs. If user SID and login SID is same, automatically it will active and it will work like a normal users. Okay. Now we can connect the SQL server using AW user.
Manish,
AP
how do you know
user
the
1.
password?
Password internally it will take, so we cannot enter the password. So there in the script we can see the
Yeah, I
password
got it.
colon, but yeah, it is in encrypted, so in the binary format. So
No,
there is
how
no way to, yeah,
then how do we log in now?
we know the password in the source server, right? So the same password we have to use it in the target server.
So if you are migrating or some other thing, then how do we know?
For example, you are the one of the AW user, AW 2016 user, and this user, this database has two accounts, AW user 1 and user 2, and you know the password because you are the owner and you are using this account, and you request a DBA team to migrate this database, right? When you're migrating the database, whatever data, whatever security is here, the same security we need to migrate it to the target server. That is the whole intention of the migration. So
Okay.
we migrating the data based by copying the by using the backup and restore method. And comes to the security, the same security also we need to copy. Again, when doing the backup and restore, users will automatically comes to the target server. But when it comes to the logins, we have to execute the sp underscore rev login script. When executing sp underscore rev login script, whatever accounts these accounts has this password, the same password it contains in the rev login script result script. But it cannot be readable. It is an encrypted. So when executing the script in the target server, so the login will created with the same password which is in the, I mean, whatever password in the source server, the target when executing the new script, the script in the target server, so the script has the same password of the source server.
Yeah, got it, Milesh. Thank you.
Okay, so we able to connect to the Node 3 server because there's no access. AW user 1, the password is abc8123 because we used the capital letter there. Let me enable. Okay, so now we connected the AW user 1. Now we can access the AW database. Just understand the concept, like here, like what is orphan users. Again, we have a separate topic for migration, so that probably will start on Monday. That I will understand. But here, the orphan users and fixing orphan users, these are related to security. That's the reason I want to highlight it here. But then again, it's the same steps you need to do it when you're doing the migration. Okay, so finding the orphan user, we know that, and fixing the orphan user, we know that, and what kind of scenarios orphan users are created, that also be clear now. Okay, so very important interview question. So what is the command for using the orphan user? So we can tell about, no need to remember entire script. We can remember about information schema. So information schema, we can find the orphan users information that we can tell in interview point of view. Okay. And you can also refer the document. In the document, we have a orphan user document. Let me open that. So here we can see that what is orphan users, how to create orphan users. And again, we have a simple command. So using this command also, we can find the orphan users. sp underscore change underscore users underscore login report. Using this command also, we can find, and fixing some demos in the document. So that's all for security. That's mean we cover everything related to security. And the pending one is the troubleshooting. So the troubleshooting will discuss in the when we are in the troubleshooting classes, like how to where to verify whether when user is not able to connect to the server, and what are the common reasons for not able to connect to the server or database. So those things we'll discuss in our troubleshooting classes. Okay. It's a, I mean, it's a little complicated topic, so we maybe have to spend some time to understand more, because there is a confusion. Maybe many people are confused about logins and users. What is login and what is user? So when you do the demos and you practice that, then you can understand the clear picture of the what exactly login, what exactly user. Because when you're reading, even if you're reading, then you'll get the little confused. So please practice. So we can watch the video, and then we can practice, then we can understand clear intention of or clear behavior of the users and logins. Okay, so that's all for today, Andy. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask, and if you don't have anything, we'll wrap up now, and then we'll connect on tomorrow. Tomorrow there is no specific topic. Tomorrow only we'll discuss about backup and restore question and answers, and security question and answers. So that we will discuss. So then Monday we'll start the migration topic. Okay, Andy. So that's all for today, Andy. I hope you understand. If you don't have any further questions, so we'll wrap up now and we'll catch up on tomorrow.
Thanks, Malesh. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.